What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Betting Show with me, Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And there's a good bit of MMA this weekend. There's a KSW show, there's a PFL show, there is a UFC show, and I believe there's some local MMA over in the States as well, or regional MMA, I suppose you would call it. And there's an absolutely massive week next week coming. I don't know how I'm going to get all my preview shows in, because I believe there's PFL, Bellator, Cage Warriors, and UFC all coming next week. So it's got to be absolutely massive. We should have plenty of bets next week. We might even get 2 bet shows out of it. You'd never know. But had a pretty good week last week. A few of the bets hit. Obviously, the Manel Cape fight didn't happen, so that went away. But it was so manic, I think everyone kind of forgot their bets, including me, in the middle of that UFC 275 card. It was absolutely insane, and it was one of those fights where you didn't mind nearly losing your money. But having said that, please bet responsibly, and hopefully everyone has been doing that, and please do that again as you come into to this weekend. I'm going to get straight into my bets here today, everyone, because I have a lot to talk about in this. If you haven't seen my shows yet, I'm sure they'll be out just before this, my PFL preview. I'm going to talk a little bit more about PFL. Today it's on a Friday this week, so I have some bets for that. Actually, my first 3 bets for that, and my last 2 are for the UFC this weekend, but I will run you through some of the other bets as well here. So make sure to check out that PFL preview of an interview as well. Coming out, it's probably already up by this stage with Magic Miles Price, who's taking on Jeremy Stevens in the PFL this week. So a big weekend of coverage for the PFL. And my first bet is going to be from the PFL, as I mentioned. I'm going for Raush Manfio at plus 160 to win here. Manfio is fighting Olivier Aubin-Mercier, and look, at the fight, I watched a good bit of tape on both of them, and obviously I've seen them throughout. We've seen Olivier Aubin-Mercier obviously in the PFL or in the UFC and then in the PFL, and we have seen Raush Manfio in the PFL for a good while as well. The reason I'm going for Manfio here, who's 16-3 against the 14-5 Olivier Aubin-Mercier, is because of his last fight more than anything else. Now, in that fight, he beat Don Madge and knocked him out inside the third round. But the big issue, as I mute my phone here, and very professional, the big issue I had before for Raush Manfio was this. He was a very good fighter, and he'd get himself into close decisions because he didn't throw enough shots, because he didn't have enough output. And no one wants to hear me giving out about judging again or talking about judging. But it's all about, the amount of shots you land and the damage with which you land via those shots. He was landing some good damage, but if he had landed twice as many shots or thrown twice as many shots, he would have had twice as many damage and made the fight twice as easy to score if you were the judges. So he went to the split decision with both Anthony Pettis and Joelton Leatherback, and then went to 2 decisions against Clay Collard and Like Robsabov. Now, that's top quality opposition there in the PFL or anywhere in the world, if we're being honest. But then he comes into the fight against Don Madge and he knocks him out in the third round. Now, having gone back watch that fight, I really think that's the issue. I was looking at my notes prior to that fight, and I was saying that might be his issue against Don Madge. It was that inability to land enough shots. It felt like he was kind of winning a lot of these fights, but his opponents were throwing more shots at him and keeping themselves close, keeping themselves in it, and in some cases even coming close to winning those fights. I think that is the exact scenario we have here against Olivier Aubin-Mercier. He is the type of guy, if Raush Manfio doesn't land enough shots, if he doesn't throw enough output, it'll probably be a close decision. Let's be honest here. It'll probably be a close decision. We'll see if the decision betting is up here, because I think it probably will be a decision again. But I think something kind of fundamentally changed for Raush Manfio in that last fight. He's 30 years of age now. As I said, 19 fights into his career. He's coming to the prime of his career, fighting out of American Top Team, a very good team. And it just does feel like he is becoming the next version of himself, if we want to put it like that. And I really like him. I think he's a good fighter. I think he'll come on the front foot and push the pace again, if he can land enough shots, that will just kind of take fights away from lots of guys. He's only lost to Sydney Outlaw since 2017. I lost to Matt Pravola back in the day as well, but some of the guys, he's beat to Marcus Jackson and others as well, even on his way up after making his debut in 2011. So as I said, he's been around a good time. What's that, 11 years now at this stage? Aubin-Mercier is a good fighter as well, though. He moves more than Raush Manfio. He is more kind of languid and loose on the outside, and if he can pick him off and not take too many shots from Manfio, I do think this will go to a decision. I do think this fight will go long, but I'll say it again, if Manfio can do in this fight what he did in his last fight, I cut off that cage pretty well and land some shots, especially when Aubin-Mercier is coming in, I think he will win this fight. I think he's the better fighter all around. Now we'll see on Friday night, and I might absolutely be wrong, and I'll hold my hands up if I am, but I just think Manfio is a little bit better of a fighter than Aubin-Mercier. And if you're looking at Aubin-Mercier's all around game, I think someone like Manfio, who can land power and who will be happy to counter you when you're kind of playing that outside game, when you're forced to come in to land shots to win the fight, he will counter you in that realm. He will look for those shots. A big part of it, again, I'll say it, is cutting off the cage and landing the shots. If he does that well and he counters Aubin-Mercier well, I think it's his fight to lose. Now, if he doesn't cut off the cage well, if he doesn't counter him well, it could be Aubin-Mercier's fight to lose. But I think Manfio will win that. And I think he's a pretty good price. A plus 160. When I was looking, honestly, I was going to bypass this fight because I thought Manfio would be a relatively big favourite, but he isn't. He is the underdog here. So I'm definitely going for Raush Manfio, plus 160, my first bet for this week. My second bet for the week, I'm going for Marcin held. And he is plus 135 here, and he is fighting Natan Schulte for the second time in both of their respective careers. Held won the first fight, and he's coming into this one obviously as the underdog again. Now, I spoke about this in the preview as well. Held, I suppose, won that fight, and he only fought once since and lost to Aubin-Mercier, but it was kind of to end the big run of Natan Schulte. And Schulte hasn't kind of been great since. He's obviously very good. What was he, a two-time champion in PFL, 21-5. He beat Alex Martinez by a split decision after that and lost to Aubin-Mercier. So, Aubin-Mercier has some great results over the last while. But I just feel like Schulte has reached stage, and I've said this a couple of times in a couple of different podcasts. He's only 30 years of age as well, but he has kind of been there, done that in the PFL. And it feels like maybe it's time for him to move on. He seems a little bit kind of stuck in his ways maybe there in the PFL. But that, having said that, the guy who snapped his really long winning streak, 10 fights-ish? The guy who snapped that is Marcin held, and he won a decision over him in 2021. Look, we know what Held is good at. He is a very good, as we saw in that fight, a very good all-around fighter. He can fight in the feet, he can wrestle. He's known for his submissions. Schulte is a very good all-around fighter as well. They're both, I would say, they're similarly well-rounded, good in different areas. I think Schulte might have a little bit more power on the feet, whereas Held is probably a better finisher on the ground. Although, Schulte has 9 submissions as well, so absolutely he is good there as well. But I think if you're to look at their last fight, right, and Held won that, has Schulte improved? Now, I would say he's not necessarily gotten worse. I just think he needs a new, a fresh lick of paint or something like that. I just feel like he maybe stayed 1 year too long in PFL. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just Aubin-Mercier fight. And he'll come out again and he'll, tear the roof off the house in this one. Obviously Held did the same and lost Aubin-Mercier as well. But I think for that price, I would say Held is the same fighter and Schulte is a little bit worse. Now, I don't like saying that about fighters, and I might be wrong, but I'm looking at it from that point of view and saying what has changed between those fights, and what is the reason that it is that price that Held is plus 135. And I can't come up with a reason. Again, I think it'll probably be a close fight. I think it'll probably be a decision. But I'm going for Marcin to win that one at plus 135. And here we go. My third PFL bet. This one I'm a little bit more unsure of, but this is plus 165. I'm going for Alex Martinez to win in the main event against Clay Collard. I was very impressed watching Alex Martinez tape, and obviously I've talked about him before on previews, and he's been in the PFL now for a while. He lost to Schulte and he lost to Rabzabov in 2021. He beat Rabzabov as well before that in his debut, and he beat Stevie Ray very impressively back in April, and I have great time for Stevie Ray. I think he's a very, very good fighter. If you look, we all know Clay Collard. He's had a great run in the PFL, beating Anthony Pettis, and beating Jeremy Stevens in one of the fights of the year the last time out. Now, that's a big part as well of why I am actually picking Alex Martinez to win this fight. Let me just look here what date that was. That was in April. So we have April, May, June, the 28th of April. It's 7 weeks-ish, is it? Is that 6-7 weeks since that? That's not a lot of time to recover from a hellacious fight like that. So Clay Collard will have to be on it here. Obviously, he won that fight and Jeremy Stevens took the worst of it, I suppose, in that. But it was an even fight, a very fun fight. A fight you probably need 3 weeks off after, at least, I would say. So how much preparation has he actually had to come in here? If this fight goes long, will it be... will it be to the advantage of Martinez? Now, usually for Martinez, who's a long, languid striker from the outside who throws those wheel kicks, I like that style of fighter. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit biased towards that style of fighter. As you can see on the wall up behind me, probably there probably isn't too much guessing what type of fighter I like. But he is that type of fighter. And I just think he fights so clean. Against Stevie Ray, though, he was a bit more kind of straight up boxing. And, Stevie Ray had to go into that fight and things, but... I like the variety of Martinez over the straight up kind of boxing of Collard. Now, Collard showed in some of his fights, and I actually asked him in a press conference last year about coming back to MMA, from boxing and what he picked up from boxing. And he kind of said to me, what he picked up from boxing is, I want to be well-rounded in mixed martial arts, and I want to be a guy who does a lot. I just don't want to throw punches and everything like that, which was kind of a funny answer, but still, I get what he's saying. And he is that, to be fair. He does throw in different sort of things, but he is mainly a boxing-orientated fighter. And against someone like Martinez, who is very much, he boxes and he throws kicks and he throws wheel kicks and he throws leg kicks, I like that game to go to Martinez. I don't think there'll be much wrestling or anything in this. If Collard was to throw in a takedown, I think it'd probably be very wise, honestly, in this one. But I think Collard is very much a guy who front runs as well. When he gets ahead, he kind of stays ahead. Not to say that if he doesn't get ahead, he can't come back or anything like that. But he's really good when he gets ahead of steam and he goes forward and he keeps at it. And if Martinez can kind of stay loose on the outside, not take too much damage in the first 3 or 4 minutes or even in the first round, I think that's a good look for him. Even if he can take the first round and win it kind of from the outside with not too much being landed, I think in the second it'll force Collard to kind of come on to him, and I think that'll suit Martinez as long as he doesn't get taken down or anything like that. Collard will have to open up and he'll land a few shots, and I think he can. I think that kicking style, that high kicking style against someone who is more of a straight up boxer can be very, very effective. And I think he'll kick the legs as well if he's standing more straight up. And I think that'll play to his advantage. And if this is a striking matchup, we see most of Martinez's fights, he's taken down. People want to get him to the ground immediately. I don't think Clay Collard will do that. I really don't think Clay Collard will do that. And if he doesn't, it's a dangerous fight. It's a dangerous fight to fight Clay Collard standing up as well. But I just think Martinez is a little bit more well-rounded. He's only 28 years of age. He's young. He's fresh coming into this. Only 11 fights into his career. And I'm going for him. I'm going for Martinez to win this one. His price again, plus 165. Right, let's head on over to the Ultimate Fighting Championship for the next bet. And my one is from the main event, Calvin Kattar versus Joshua Emmett. Kattar 23-5. Emmett 17-6. And the bet I'm going for here, I'm going for the fight to finish. So the fight doesn't go to a decision at plus 100. So put on 100 quid, you win 100 quid. And I was very close to saying the fight does go to a decision, but I was thinking of it from one point of view, right? So Emmett has lots of knockouts, but his last 2 fights have gone to a decision. So I was kind of thinking, right, if he's not knocking everyone out, especially recently, Calvin Kattar is a guy, we saw in the Max Holloway fight, that man can take an unmerciful amount of damage. This is obviously over 5 rounds as well. But when you, and that's grand, you look at it from that point of view, who is more likely to knock who out and with a one punch knockout? Josh Emmett, I would say. But then you look at it and say, well, Calvin Kattar is one of the best chins in mixed martial arts. Now, this may sound a bit idiotic what I'm saying overall here, but I'm trying to convince myself in my brain. But so then you look at, there's actually 2 people fighting here, right? Calvin Kattar will be throwing shots back at him. It won't be just Josh Emmett trying to knock him out, but Emmett will be landing damage, Kattar will be landing damage, and then Emmett will be landing damage, and then Kattar will be landing damage, and we have 5 full rounds of that. With Kattar is one of the most volumized fighters. Is that probably not the correct word, but he throws more volume than almost anyone. Look, if Max Holloway wasn't in the division, he'd probably be way ahead. Emmett throws lots of punches. He's good wrestling, good on the ground as well. This is one of those fights where I just think there'll be so much leather thrown that it'll be hard to go 5 rounds without a finish. Now, Kattar has 10 decisions in his 23 fights. He has 13 that finish inside the distance. Emmett has 9 decisions in 17 and 8 inside the distance. So it's basically half and half, for both of them. And that's their wins. And, Josh Emmett has won knockout loss and Calvin Kattar has won submission loss. So, they haven't been finished that much, but 5 rounds at this level, there aren't that many fights that way, that especially guys at this level don't win. I just think there is going to be so much damage in this fight. I really do. I really think this is going to be an all-out war. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Emmett more than likely gets the takedown here and lays on top of him, and there isn't that much damage. But when I envisaged this fight, and having gone back and watched bits of both of them before doing this, I just think there's gonna, I'm not giving any technical breakdown here or anything, or even giving an indication of who might win, but I just think someone will lose and someone will get hurt. Look, a little bit like the Glover Teixeira Jiří Procházka fight last week. If you were to say, right, at the 2-minute mark or whatever it was of the 5th round, who's going to win this fight if it finishes, you'd probably say, well, maybe not the 2-minute around the mark of the 5th round because Jiří was hurt and all that. But if you were to say at the 4-minute mark of the 4th round, someone's going to get finished in the 5th round, you got it could be either guy. Both have taken big damage, both have been hurt. Okay, Glover's ahead or whatever, but this is a fight that could go anywhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got finished. I would say the same for this fight in Kattar against Emmett. If it goes that way, and I think it will, but it is an if it turns into that war, if it turns into one guy winning one round, another guy winning another round, another guy, and the judges will probably be praying for it to finish in the 5th round to save them a job. And I think it could be it could be even like a 5th round finish. I'll pull that up in a second. It might be a flyer bet. So yeah, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for that fight to win inside the distance, and that is at plus 100. Right, my flyer of the week, I've gone for a true flyer, and do you know what? I think I'm going to be going for true flyers from now on. I want to be going for 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 to 1 flyers. That's the sort of thing I want to be going for my flyer. This flyer bet is not a bet that should be on a record or anything like that. This should be just out there. It's a mad one. If it happens, it happens. So my flyer bet I'm going for this week, I'm going for Joe Lauzon to submit Donald Cerrone, and that is plus 700. So 7 to 1 here for Joe Lauzon to submit Cowboy Donald Cerrone. A big reason I've gone for this is the fight was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago. There was COVID or something like that. Wasn't able to happen, and now it's happening here. And I don't think Donald Cerrone will deal with that too well. Now, he's a guy who's taking fights in short notice and all of that, but his mentality haven't been so prepared for that last fight, haven't gotten so emotional, talking about his son, seeing him fighting for the last time and all this before that. How long did it take him to recover from that? How is he going to feel emotionally again? Like, is he going to be coming in like thinking, oh God, here we go, I have to go through all these emotions again? Like, how does that affect you? Do you start thinking differently? Do you start being unnatural and all of that? And then you get into the fight, suddenly you have Joe Lauzon across from you throwing bombs. And like, Joe Lauzon is a finisher as well. Joe Lauzon is an absolute finisher. Like, 28 wins, 15 losses, 17 wins by submission. 17 wins by submission for Joe Lauzon, and he's 7-1 to get a submission. And Cerrone's only been submitted once. He's won 17 times by submission as well. So maybe this, I wonder, is there a bet for the fight in by submission? Let's look at that in a second here when I get to it. But I just feel like coming into the last fight, I think I was probably picking Donald Cerrone, and I just think Cerrone like a little bit bigger, and Joe Lauzon is kind of, both of them being kind of out of the game for a while. Cerrone hasn't fought since May last year, so it's not that long. When was Lauzon's last fight? It was in 2019, so yeah, he has been out of the game a little bit longer. He did win that fight, and he looked good against Jonathan Pierce, and he got a stoppage in that fight as well. And it's been a while. I mentioned Marcin earlier on. He fought and beat Marcin in 2017 as well, and it's been a while since he's got a submission, all the way back in, is it 2012 the last time he got swing? Okay, can I retract this bet? No, I'm still going with it. I just feel like, look, this is how I see this fight going. I think they'll both come out swinging. They'll come out swinging and banging. I feel like Cerrone will catch a shot, go down, and Lauzon will take his back and choke him. That's how I see this fight going. Maybe early. First round submission, something like that. A rear naked choke, Joe Lauzon. That's how I see this fight going. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong. But Cerrone didn't actually fight as many quick turnarounds as people make out in his career. I remember I went back and I did it once. He did it a few times, absolutely, and especially at 1 year he did a lot. But I think this sort of a year-long layoff at this stage of his career, I don't know if that's the best thing for him in the world, and I don't know if he is the same fighter he once was. Like, he wasn't looking amazing when he fought in recent fights. And look, it's hard to know where Lauzon is as well. Was he just retired? What was he doing for the last 3 years? I don't know. But I just think Lauzon probably be able to put himself together better than Cerrone will, I think, at this stage. So I'm going for Lauzon. I might be wrong. Who knows? But the submission, 7-1, I like it. I love it. Let's go for that. So, right, I will recap those bets in a second, but let's look at some of the other bets. So I was mentioning cards. There's an ACA card this weekend as well. Husimal Palhares is on that. He's plus 375. He's fighting Ibrahim Magomedov, and there's probably loads of other fights on that as well. There's a CES 69 card on this weekend. Chad Kelly on the card, Jeremy May, Mike Rodriguez, Dion Rubio is a big favorite there in that one. And then with PFL, let's get to PFL here. So I'll give you the straight up bets on some of these. There aren't any props up at the moment, but maybe closer to the fight time you will be able to get them. So Alex Martinez is plus what did I say? It was plus 165 now against your guy Clay Collard to win in the main event. Antonio Carlos Jr., I see him here. Actually, just looking at Martinez, actually moved to plus 170, so plus 165, plus 170. Antonio Carlos Jr. is minus 800 of a Brucey Soto. I think that's just about right, plus 550. I talked about that, and I talked about most of these on all of them, even on the preview show, so I will leave it to there, but I'll just go through the prices anyway. Aubin-Mercier minus 190, plus 160. Manfio is one of my bets for the week. Miles Price is a big underdog, plus 385, minus 525 for Jeremy Stevens. Omari Akhmedov is rightly, I think, a favourite, minus 525. Although Omari Akhmedov, I don't think as much of a killer as his last fight suggests. So the plus 385 for Theodoros, I wouldn't go for it, to be honest, but it might be bad value at that price. I don't, he's not great, but I would go for Akhmedov. Plus 135, minus 155 for Natan Schulte and Marcin with the plus money there. Dylan Monche is plus 245. Emiliano Sardi minus 310. I wouldn't be taking Sardi at that price, to be honest. I wouldn't take him at that price. Rob Wilkinson minus 320 plus 250 for Pesta. Rob Wilkinson's been very impressive recently. Love this fight. Everyone knows my opinion on this one. If you watch the preview, minus 180 for Josh Silveira. Martin Hamlet plus 155. Oh, I'd nearly go for Silveira at that. That's the type of price you'll never get in Silveira again if it goes well for him, because this guy could be an absolute phenom. His wrestling, his jiu-jitsu are brilliant. That's going to be fighting, maybe not fighting tonight, but it'll be battle of the night for me. Love that fight. I'll just pop down to KSW here quickly. Errol Zimmerman is on the card, minus 255. Marcin Rosalski plus 185. There's some very good fights on this. Donovan Desmet, a former Cage Warriors title contender, minus 115. He's fighting Arthur Savinsky. Great fight. Minus 115 as well. So a very even matchup there. Daniel Torres on the card against Boris Mankowski. That's a big fight for KSW. Plus 240 for Torres, minus 300 for Mankowski. Sebastian Rakowski is also on this as well. Is his brother on the card? He's not. They're usually on the card together. He's fighting Marcin Zielinski. Rakowski is the underdog, plus 320, minus 425 for Ziolski. So a really good card there. Roman Zemansky is on the card as well, minus 220 over Valu Mirsa. So, very, very good card there. And I believe my guy Sean Dini has a preview up on SevereMA.com, and should be able to watch it there and follow here as well on Sherdog.com to see all the results and follow the card. But the UFC this weekend, the main event, minus 235 for Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett, plus 190. I'm a little bit surprised at that. I think it probably should be a little bit closer, honestly, than that, but that's a good price if you just fancy Josh Emmett straight up, plus 195. As I mentioned, the fight finishes inside the distance, plus 100. If you fancy Kattar submission, it's plus 1,000 here, plus 2,000 actually here. Emmett by submission, plus 250. Emmett KO, plus 400. Kattar KO, minus 190. So Kattar, big favourite there, especially get the KO. That Emmett KO, plus 400. Not a bad bet at all. That's not a bad bet at all. Which bet did I? Oh, I said I'd look at if there was Cerrone and Lauzon to finish by submission. We'll see if there is a prop for that. Cerrone minus 165 to win straight up. Lauzon plus 145. So pretty close betting there. Honestly, very, very close. But Cerrone just about the favourite there. Lauzon submission, as I said, plus 700. Cerrone submission plus 900 if you fancy that. Is there a bet the fight finishes in a submission? Lauzon submission on round one is plus 2200. I like that bet. Either fighter wins by submission. It's one place has it plus 250, another place has it plus 480. I don't mind that. I'd take the plus 480. I'd bite your hand off for that plus 480. But yeah, we'll move on to the next fight. Kevin Holland is a minus 260 favourite over Tim Means. I was looking at Kevin Holland inside the distance here. Kevin Holland by TKO KO, and that's plus 200. It's a little bit short for me. If that, if you're talking plus 300 there, sorry, as I choked it out, I'd probably go for it, but plus 200 is just not enough. Just not enough for me. Dying lads. But yeah, I would go for Holland in that fight, but I'd probably bet him straight up in an AK or something if I was going for there. Albert Jurev, as well as a minus 210 favourite over Jaquim Buckley, plus 175. Ismagulov minus 160 against Kutaladze, plus 140. A lot of people very intrigued and looking forward to that fight. Two prospects coming through there. Gregory Rodriguez minus 200. Marquez plus 170. Marquez is a guy I can't trust in a fight. Jasmine is minus 250 against Natalia Silva, plus 200. I just didn't go for Jazz Davicius at all. Did I get it right? Jazz Davicius, is that correct? I think I got it right. Adrian Yanez minus 350. Tony Kelly, Claire's finest, at plus 270. There's about 7 people watching that who'll get that joke. Corin McGee minus 120, plus 100 for Jeremiah Wells. Never ever bet against Corin McGee. Corin McGee by decision. Let's see what that is. Can I get it? McGee to win inside the distance. McGee by decision, plus 150. Love it. That's the bet for there. Danny Chavez plus 235. Ricardo Hamas minus 300. Gloria De Paula, I missed that one, minus 265. Oliveira plus 215. Deron Wynn against Phil Hawes. That's an interesting fight. Plus 210 for Deron Wynn. Phil Hawes minus 260. I probably would go for Hawes, but you never know with Deron Wynn. And then Kyle Dawkins and Roman Delidze. Delidze is the underdog there, plus 195. And Dawkins is minus 240. All right, everyone, I will leave it there. I'll recap my bets again for the week. I'm going for Raush Manfio, Marcin Held, and Alex Martinez in the PFL. Plus 160 for Manfio, plus 135 for Held, and plus 165. All plus bets this week for Martinez. Fight doesn't go to a decision in the main event in the UFC between Kattar and Emmett. That's plus 100. And for my flyer of the week, I'm going for Joe Lauzon, J-Low, to submit Donald Cerrone, plus 700. If you like in the first round, you can get a plus 2,200. All right, I will leave it there. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you, everyone. See you all next time.